This is a video on a very basic pattern, really. It's the swirl, or spiral as some people call it. I'm going to do it on a pillowcase. So I've got a wet pillowcase here. I always pre-wash everything I dye, just so if there's any coating on the fabric I can get that off. There are certain brands of t-shirts that seem like they always have a coating of some sort, and the problem with that is that when you go to dye it, you'll see the issue there because the dye simply sort of runs off rather than absorbs into the fabric. But pre-washing it will generally deal with that. So that's why I always pre-wash everything. So again, this is soaked in soda ash. It's wet, and this is going to be the swirl / spiral pattern, however you call it. I use a tool for this, actually. I've folded a lot of swirls over the years, and I found that we come up with a little tool to deal with, because really the issue here is getting the folds even across it, and it's hard to do, with just your hand. So what I've done is I've made this is made out of Lexan, and it's got a little hole in the middle of it, and I mean, it really just depends on the size of whatever it is that you're folding as to how big this needs to be. Given the size of the pillowcase, I've got a pretty big one here. It's about 12 inches across. Again, it's got a hole in the middle of it. That way my fork can go through it. I use this fork. Some of my employees, have taken just a regular fork and sort of spread the tines out so, you can slip it onto the garment or whatever it is that you're folding. This is just a little pitchfork, however you call that. And, it's pretty sturdy. When I use this to twist, my tines they don't bend up on me, and that's important when you're folding this pattern, because you don't want to get halfway through it and have that thing all bent up on you and not be able to move on. So, just like a standard swirl / spiral pattern, you pinch it in the middle or wherever you want that swirl to start. I pinch it, and I take that fork and I slide it right over that pinch, and I sort of half turn it so it not really locks it in, but it holds it in place. And then from there, I take my plate, I call it a plate, whatever you want to call it, and I slide it down over the fork so that it's setting on the fabric. It's actually raised, about a ½ inch there, and I kind of hold my fingers under it, really, so whatever the, fatness of your fingers is really about how high that is sitting off the fabric. And then from there, I just start, doing the standard turn the fork, and you can see that it starts to draw in. Right? And I use something clear so that I can see what's happening with my fold. That's important. If you use something else, I have some other ones that, are earlier ones that I made before I got to this design that are white, so you can't see the product through it. So you really, once you take the plate off is when you figure out whether or not everything's in place. So again, I like the clear Lexan for that. And so, I've got my swirl started here, and I'm going to start to work these folds around. And I want to keep them even, and I don't want any of these folds to buckle up. I want them to evenly come around. So I just start working that around. As much as I can with the plate on there. Once I get to the point where I can't really reach, like right in here, I can't really reach that so good to get those straightened out, I half turn my fork and I pull it out. What I want to make sure that I don't do is that this is so tight that part of my fold comes up through the hole. Okay, so that's that. Take it off. And then I just work the rest of my folds around, cleaning these all up. And notice I keep my hand on here again to sort of try to keep these folds even. It's real important when it comes to dyeing this, so that I don't end up with big white areas where the dye didn't penetrate through or didn't penetrate through evenly. So I just work that, keep working it around. It's kind of tight. I don't want it real loose because once I put the rubber bands on and I pick it up, I don't want it to fold up on me, and that's what happens if it's not tight enough. If it's too tight, you might have issues with getting the dye to penetrate all the way through. So, it's just something you're going to have to experiment with, and you'll get better at it the more times you do it. So, So I've about got my folds worked around here pretty good. And everything's, you know, it's pretty even across this pillowcase. This is about the only pattern I use rubber bands for all the way. And it usually takes about 3 rubber bands, sometimes 4, again, depending on what it is I'm folding. So I get that first rubber band on there, and I work these other little folds around a little bit. Put my second rubber band on, tightening these edges up, you know, where the fabric stops, kind of bringing them around, evening those out. Because if it gets thicker around the edge than it is in the center, the die is going to sort of, you know, concave into the center, and it won't be as even. So there's my third rubber band. So there it is, pretty clean. And now I can just pick it up. It's not going to fold up on me. Pretty clean, nice and pretty flat on the back and on the front. Okay, so that makes for an even die going forward. This is going to be a rainbow swirl. This is for a little boy, one of my customers online. He's pretty excited to get this, so I can't wait to get this one dyed and get this out to him so he can get it on his pillow. This is a swirl pattern. It's going to be rainbow. So the colors I'm going to use are yellow, orange, red, a blue like a royal color, and then a green. I'll start with the yellow, and I just section off little sort of pie shapes of each color. And go to the orange, red, and the blue, and here's the green. We'll flip it over and dye the other side, the same colors in the same places. So we'll start with yellow again. Orange. Red. Blue. And the green. Okay. A little bit of white right here on the edge of the yellow. Let me hit that. Okay. So now I'll put a lid on this bin and let it set for approximately 12 hours or more. Then I'll rinse it, and we'll look at it, and I'll show you what the final product looks like. Again, this is a rainbow swirl. So we're just going to get the water going, pull the rubber bands off, start running water over this thing, open it up. This is the final product on the swirl spiral pattern, rainbow swirl. If you like what you see here, like and or subscribe to be notified of future videos, instructional and reveals. Probably do some giveaways at some point. If there's something you'd like to see, folded, dyed, or otherwise, comment below and let us know, and we always do our best to try anything at least once. Make sure that you like what you see.